This is module 52, and so it's the beginning of section 10. So today in econ, we're looking at profit. So as we start to define profit, what we're going to find is there's economists maybe do it a little bit different than accountants, for example. So as we look at this, we're going to talk about these things: implicit costs, explicit costs, accounting versus economic profit, and then what normal profit is. So the first thing we're going to look at is, what is profit? So profit is simply like total revenue minus total cost. So if you look at the symbol for pi, that's what they use because they use price for like a p. So profit is then symboled with that. If you look at TR minus TC, that's just total revenue minus your total cost. And we've done total revenue already. Total revenue is just the box of price times quantity. So as we're looking at our revenue, we kind of know how to do that a little bit from when we were looking at maybe taxes, etc. We would say, oh yeah, here's all your revenue minus here's the taxes. This is going to be the cost part of that. So now the first thing we have is explicit costs. So explicit costs are the laying out of money. So when you think about explicit costs, like a lot of times they will say, oh, what is the explicit cost of going to college? Okay, so your explicit costs of going to college are things like tuition or room and board. So when you are buying things for college, a computer, right? Those are things that you're going to use that are costs that you have to actually pay out money, right? These are the accounting costs. And what we like to say in econ is that's just straight cash, homie, right? So when you start thinking about explicit costs, it's what you have to pay out when you're actually going to go do something, right? In this case, I'm going to college. I have to pay tuition. I have to buy a computer. I have to pay my room and board. Those are the things that is my straight cash. I got to know where that money's coming from, okay? So accountants, oftentimes, that's what they look at. But what an economist would say is the accounting people are missing maybe the bigger picture. So what do economists look at? Economists look at implicit costs of college, okay? So now the implicit cost is defined as something that is, well, what would I have done with my money, right? So if I didn't go to college, what could I have done? And that might have been get a job, right? So we're always going to assume that you're going to do something. There's even a test question where it's like, well, what if I would have just sat home and did nothing the whole time? Well, that's not going to happen, right? Like, you're going to do something. If you're not going to college, you're probably getting a job, or it's going to be something like that. So if it in the sum of a question, if it doesn't say like, oh, this is what they could have done had they done that, you should ask that question then to say like, okay, always assume, I guess, that somebody's doing something else. They're not just going to go sit in their basement by themselves and just wait it out for 4 years, right? They're doing something. So if I'm getting a job here, and let's say I could have earned $30,000 of income, right? So now if I am an economist, I'm going to take my explicit costs and add my implicit costs in here. And because of that, if my tuition, computer, room and board, like let's say that all totaled for the year, let's say that totaled $30,000, right? I have to take that 30 and this 30 for an economic cost of $60,000. So that's going to cost me $60,000, right? And that is an interesting thing because an accountant person, they would only count this $30,000 here. So economic costs will always be higher than accounting costs because we add in what we would have done had we not done this, right? So in economics, we always talk about that next thing, right? So in the next question, it said, like, if you were in class, we'd be like, hey, well, what does that mean? Implicit costs are opportunity costs, right? So my explicit cost of going to college was 30 grand. My implicit cost for that particular year would be $30,000. So that's my opportunity cost, what I would have done had I not made the decision I did to, let's say, go to college. So instead, I'm going to forego that $30,000. I add that together to get an economic cost of $60,000. So sometimes what you'll see is the accounting people say, well, look, we made this great decision. Here's the numbers. But what they didn't see or look at would be maybe if we would have done this decision over here, we might have made way more money. But because we didn't look at that decision, we think what we made was fine, right? So it's an interesting thing to think about what you could have done had you not made the decision that you did. So this whole slide just talks about that idea behind accounting profit and economic profit. Accounting profit is only the explicit costs, right? So these are accounting over here. And then over here, we have economic. And so as you look at that, econ is accounting, plus the implicit ones. So my explicit plus my implicit give you your economic ones. So as you look at that overall, the normal profit, okay? So this is a concept that's hard sometimes for kids to get. Economists, all we really want is our normal profit to be zero. And it doesn't seem like that would make any sense. Wouldn't you want positive economic profit? Don't you want more profit? Well, by having a normal profit of zero, what it means is I couldn't have done anything else with my time and made any more money, right? So for example, if I was a bus driver for Lamers, right? Like let's say that was my career choice. And so my bus driver over here makes, let's say, 45 grand, okay? And then over here, like my skill set is teacher or bus driver, right? And let's say I become a teacher, but I start out and I only make $40,000, okay? So as I look at it, if I right now chose to be a bus driver, would I leave my bus driver job to go be a teacher? And the answer is no, because you make more money being the bus driver, right? So when I think about that, I made this decision, I'm going to stay at this decision. But what if my teaching pay, what if that was equal to $45,000, okay? So now I'm making 45, but I'm giving up 45. That would be a normal profit, right? Because what would I have done with my time? If I wasn't a bus driver making 45,000 and I was a teacher making 45,000, what I'm giving up is the 45 being a teacher to make 45 being a bus driver. That's zero. That means right now with my skill set, I should still not stop being a bus driver, because right now being a bus driver is, I'm doing the best I can with the skill set I have, okay? So now, if for some reason teachers got paid more than bus drivers, so let's say the teacher is making $50,000. Well, now being a bus driver, it pays to go switch, right? I'm not going to be a bus driver anymore. I'm going to switch over here. I'm going to be a teacher. And so before I was earning like a positive economic profit, then I was earning normal. Now this is like a negative. So I should switch here, right? I should decide to be the teacher and make 50 instead of being the bus driver and making 45. So that's how you could use this normal profit. Remember, and normal profit could be making millions of dollars. If I'm an NFL player and I'm making $1.2 million to play for the Packers, right? And then the Cowboys offer me $1.2 million. Well, that means I am currently making a normal profit, an economic profit of zero. Because if I can't change and do anything better with my skill set. If I leave the Packers to go to the Cowboys, there's really no difference in salary. So it's zero to me. Now, if all of a sudden somebody was paying me more money, then I would consider leaving, right? Because that would be like, oh, I could make more money someplace else, a positive economic profit if I left, right? So I should leave the one and go to the other. Okay, so as you look at that, it doesn't really seem all that difficult, but boy, they can ask you some questions on tests that can be tricky, right? So you got to make sure you got that down. That would be your economic profit, implicit cost, explicit cost, accounting profit, and normal profit. I think I said all of them. So those are all the different types of profits that you can get. Remember, I think probably the biggest one is explicit costs are just straight cash, homie. Implicit costs are your opportunity costs. And accounting profit only includes explicit. Economic profit includes both explicit and implicit together. And then we're just trying to get to zero, right? So that we can't do anything else and make more money with the skill set that we have. Until next time.